want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. The pain for their disease. Rage is like a wind, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed. 'Cause we just want retribution. Let's go light up the darkness. Make true of an empty promise. Flip cards into weak and harmless. Take to the streets and turn them to a mosh pit. 'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Feed like a disease, bring them to their knees. The pain for their disease. Rage is like a wind, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed. 'Cause we want retribution. 'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. The pain for their disease. Rage is like a wind, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed. 'Cause we just want retribution. Let's go light up the darkness. Make true of an empty promise. Flip cards into weak and harmless. Take to the streets and turn them to a mosh pit. 'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Feed like a disease, bring them to their knees. The pain for their disease. Rage is like a wind, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed.
Welcome to the first live episode of the All Things Sports Podcast. My name is Zach Bischoff, and I am here with...
Danish Janholzer.
Alright, now today we are going to be talking about, here's the agenda, I would like to thank you for joining us for our first ever endeavor into the realm of YouTube live streaming. Anyway, now today we're going to be talking about the NHL. We want this show to be about an hour. So the first segment is going to be the NHL playoffs, NHL off-season talk. Then it will be the NBA, the NBA rumor mill and the playoffs. Then the NFL Steelers talk. There was some, and then MLB, interesting news out of the MLB today. We'll get into that when that comes around. The USFL, I don't know what happened to my spelling there. And then we are not talking about the Champions League. All right, Danny, please entertain the people with the NHL playoffs and what is happening there.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just want to echo what to our audience what Zach said. I mean, I'm just excited. First live stream here. Excited to see what how this goes. So yeah, with the NHL playoffs, I mean, we're getting to the real meat and potatoes of it here. We're really getting somewhere. We got 4 teams left in the Western Conference. It is the Colorado Avalanche um, and the Edmonton Oilers, and then the Eastern Conference. Obviously, it is the New York Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I believe Game One.
Welcome back to the All Things Sports Podcast. We apologize for having to take that brief intermission. So it's Danny was saying, Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals is this evening. Click that. Yes.
And again, sorry, that was actually my blunder. With I'm sorry for getting the games mixed up there, but that just shows mistakes are part of learning here. So any hoodles. Yeah, but with the NHL, I really enjoyed the game between the Colorado Avalanche and the Edmonton Oilers. That 8-6 game was an absolute thriller. I mean, and that just shows. I mean, how offensively talented all both of those teams are, and more than anything, when watching that game, I like it is it is just. I mean, it really shows how good the offenses are, but also how bad both goaltenders are. I mean, Mike Smith has been around for forever, and Darcy Kemper has not been like, I don't know how long he's been around, but he has not been much better than Mike Smith. Obviously, giving up 6 goals, and I mean, I thought it was one funny anecdote that I took away from it was they had Wayne Gretzky on the intermission report, I believe, in that 8-6 game, and it was 5-3 after the first period, if I'm not mistaken, and Wayne Gretzky, arguably the best player, the best offensive player of all time, asked or said that he wanted to see some defense. I mean, how often do you hear
Yeah,
that in
yeah,
hockey?
you don't hear that much.
No. So I mean, I'm just like that. I think that's what it really comes down to. Like we know both teams can or have a great are great on the offensive end. I mean, when you got like McDavid and Draisaitl and McKinnon and all those guys, how can it not be a great offensive matchup? I just think what it'll come down to is which goalie can not necessarily bail them out, but bail their team out, but like limit the damage. You know what I'm saying, Zach?
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's great insight, Daniel. And I think, well, first of all, let's hear your updated Stanley Cup final predictions.
My updated?
Yes, Stanley Cup final predictions. Yes.
Yeah. So I know. So I know Zach originally said Canes and Avalanche, correct?
That's correct.
Um, and I I thought that was a good pick. So coming out of the Eastern Conference though, and I know that like it seems boring, and it's like I don't want Tampa Bay to win another series and go to another Cup final. But at this point, I mean, how can I not? They're looking to go back to back to back. So I mean, I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay coming out of the East, and and then I'm going to go. Although the Oilers now, I mean, again, great offensive firepower. I mean, they got Evander Kane has even been playing. I mean, he's been a great player for them since they're acquired him from the deadline. He's been great at the way. So I think the Oilers will give the Avs a run for their money, but I just really cannot see myself betting against the Colorado Avalanche here, just because of how deep they are, and so that's my prediction. Um, what are your thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that should be a good series. I mean, this. As I look at my notes here, this Colorado series that adds to be a fun series.
Yeah.
A lot of offensive firepower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Colorado's going to make it out of that series, and the other series I think is going to be. I need to look at my notes a moment. Wrong thing. Pardon me as I just brush up on my notes here. I think it's going to be Colorado and the um, Colorado and the Lightning.
Lightning.
Yes. So,
Yeah, I mean it's the same with me. And I just feel like again, it just comes down to like just how consistent the Lightning are. Because I'm not as well. I haven't really watched. I didn't watch Game One of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm not as well informed about how like those two teams are matching up. Uh, but I mean, I can't see myself, and maybe this is outdated or whatever. I just cannot see myself betting against Tampa Bay Lightning. And I've been saying it in this podcast. The Tampa Bay the Tampa Bay Lightning through these years, I mean, they've built, they're starting and they're building right now a dynasty, man. I
mm-hmm.
mean, it's historic what they've been able to do, and I just like to be able to make it three straight like because I'm from Pittsburgh, so I'm obviously most well informed about the Pens Cup runs in 16 and 17, but I mean after that, we haven't been able to get to the playoffs, Zach. So I mean,
Right.
like it because the NHL is such a physically demanding league, and it just players, are always moving about. Like they just built such a culture. It seems like that just is just they've figured out what works and they're sticking to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right. So that does it for the NHL segment. So as you can see on the agenda, we are now moving into the NBA. Danny, would you like to talk about the NBA playoffs and where they stand?
Yes, sir. I know that you don't. I was telling Jack actually. We'll a podcast earlier today actually, and the gentleman that was the gentleman the the gentleman that it was his podcast said that like it just it for the he was just so impressed with the Boston Celtics, as am I, because it just takes a while for you to get used to the Golden State Warriors offense and how they function. I mean it because and it showed in the first quarter. I mean they could not, because of how much motion is involved and how much cutting and stuff, they could not find Steph Curry. And
Uh huh.
obviously, the Warriors' offensive style was designed to get their shooters open, right? So they could not find Steph Curry. So he goes off for 18 points in the first quarter, and everybody's thinking, "Oh, Golden State's going to run away with this because Boston's got to figure out how to limit Curry because they were losing him on screens and stuff." But I
Uh huh.
mean, the way that Boston responded and the way they kept it close down the stretch, man. I mean, it was. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. Like it was, I was just so impressed with them. And listen to this, Zach. The Boston Celtics. So they withstood Golden State's pressure and got it. I think it was a tied game at halftime, right? So from giving up 8. If you would have said to the Celtics coach, hey, we're going to give up 18 points to Steph Curry in the first quarter, or 18 points on threes alone in the first quarter, and we're going to tie them at halftime, he would have took that 100 times out of 100. So, I mean, just the way they battled back and were able to get it tied at halftime. But listen to this. First off, they came back in the fourth quarter and outscored the Warriors 40-16. And they shot a combined from three. They shot 16 of 23. They only missed 7 3-pointers through that entire game. That is crazy. And I mean, their defense was just they were able to limit Curry in the second half. They got their shooters the ball, and even the one even Al Horford, who is a good perimeter big and can shoot the three, he could not miss. He was 5 of 7, I believe, which is his game high in 3-pointers, I believe. But I mean, it was their role players too. It was like Derek White was 5 of 8. Have you ever heard of Derek White, Jeff?
I have.
Oh, okay. Then, but yeah, I mean, he's been. I was gonna say, if you haven't heard of him, then that just shows how good their ball movement was. Just because they were just getting everybody open. It was really fun to watch. So I mean, I'm just excited to see what comes in the coming days, I guess, here with Game 2. Game 2 I believe is Sunday, and then Game 3 I believe is Wednesday. But I mean, it's a big deal for the Celtics to also win at home or win on the road. Pardon me, because you know what they say, Zach, and this is true in all playoff series. You have to win at home. You have to win at home, right? Because the one with home field advantage, if you win all your games at home, you're going to win 7 games. Well, now, and what's if you're a Warriors fan, you're feeling worse too, because the Warriors played pretty well not in the fourth quarter, but up till then, I mean they played really well, and they did what they do, and the Celtics were still able to. I mean, they were the number 1 ranked defense in the regular season, so that makes sense that they were able to, that makes sense they were good defensively. But if you're a Warriors fan, you got to be worried, because Steph Curry can't shoot much better than he did to start that first quarter and that first half. I mean, it was just really something special to watch, man.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to take a brief intermission here, just to catch our breath. We will be right back, and next we will be talking about, if I can find my script, there it is. We will be talking about the NFL. My audio is being captured this time. I apologize. When I was on the screen earlier, you could not hear Danny's audio or mine. I have now fixed that. So yes, the wonders of technology. Anyway, we will be right back right here on the live episode of the All Things Sports Podcast, episode number 7.
Retribution! Oh yeah, we want retribution! yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement.
Welcome back to the All Things Sports Podcast, live taping of episode number 7, exclusively on YouTube. We will be recording a separate audio portion of this broadcast, as this cannot be posted to our audio platforms due to size limitations. Alright, we are going to be talking about next the NFL Steelers talk. So, Danny, would you like to lead that discussion first?
Yeah, man. I mean, the biggest, obviously, we talked about Omar Khan, but really the biggest news of when you say, well, I guess it's probably the NFL is the yesterday Steelers defensive lineman Stephon Tuitt officially announced his retirement from football. Now, the Steelers were obviously without Tuitt last year due to him taking the season off for personal reasons. Now, I assume that his retirement had to deal with those same personal reasons. I mean, obviously, when you go through a loss like he did with his brother, I mean that's a hard one. So obviously you feel for Tuitt for sure, and it seems like he really thought a lot about this decision, and just he was a great, not to turn it all to football so suddenly, but he was a great player for us. He was another nightmare for defenses to deal with. So we're certainly I as a Steelers fan will certainly miss seeing Stephon Tuitt play, but I understand that there are bigger things in the world than football, and obviously respect and hope for the best for him.
All right. Yeah, I don't really have much more.
What are your thoughts on that, Zach?
I mean, I think it is a loss for the Steelers. And I think as I get a drink here, that I think the Steelers need to find a replacement somehow. I mean, and I don't remember who they drafted in the draft, but they could have they could have drafted somebody in the draft. And I don't know about it because I don't watch the draft. So yeah, I think the Steelers need to find a replacement, and that's all I need to say on that topic.
I would say, and this is kind of from a Steelers perspective, I think they handled this probably as well as they could have, right? Because they obviously could have said, hey, we get the decision that you're trying to make is a hard one, but we kind of need the decision sooner. So I admire the fact that the Steelers have allowed him to kind of dictate the terms in what he was, in the way he wanted to deal with the situation. I mean, obviously it's a big loss from a football perspective, but I'm just so I think especially when it comes to football, I mean that means a lose job gets harder, right? Because Tuitt requires so much attention, not kind of more attention. But yeah, I think like you said, I admire the way the Steelers handled this. So I think that we want to invest eventually in a replacement. And I think a player like an Akeem Hicks would have been a good pickup, but as I understand it, he has been picked up. So that's where it seems that experts were kind of looking to see if the Steelers would do that. But like I'm not sure where he signed, but I know it wasn't with the Steelers. So yeah, I mean we'll see. It'll be again. I just want to yeah.
All right, so that is going to do it for the NFL segment. We are going to move right into our next segment, which is there we go. Um, the MLB. I hear there's a situation with Joe Girardi, manager of the Phillies, being relieved of his duties. Danny, would you like to educate the people on that?
Sure, Zach. Yeah. So the biggest news of the day, in terms of baseball, I mean, we obviously that fantasy football dispute was quite interesting, but it is official now that the Steelers have parted ways with manager of three, three seasons, I think, with Joe Girardi, and I when a team that has talent is struggling like that, I think it's always hard to um, know quite what to do because the Phillies have talent. I mean, they have Bryce Harper, they have Aaron Nola, they have Kyle Schwarber. They have guys, and they're right now they are third in the NL East, I believe, behind the arguably one of the best teams in baseball in the New York Mets, which we can talk about later if we want to, or and the Atlanta Braves. So I mean, it seems like and obviously Girardi hasn't been great for him, but he hasn't been terrible. I mean, I think he was like 131, 142. I think this is just kind of ballpark. He's about 131 and 142 in his all-time record. I think it's hard for a front office to their player development now. Like they can't remember if the Phillies have really developed anybody. I heard that point on SportsCenter actually, but their player development hasn't been great. And I think as a front office, it's kind of easy to blame the manager when you're struggling. So he kind of seems to, yeah, it was just interesting. Zach. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, Zach.
Yeah, not really much. I haven't really had a chance to read anything on the situation, but I did see something that it is the first manager to be hired or fired, excuse me, since I think it was Mike Matheny, I believe, before the All-Star break, rather.
Yeah.
So that's so yeah, I don't really have much to say on that because that just broke earlier this morning, and we had
Right.
already had everything prepared for this live stream.
Yeah. So no, like you said, and with Mike Matheny, I mean, I think it just like when a team is not performing, right? I mean, it's I think in all sports, and I'm curious to hear you guys can if you guys are watching live, you guys can join the conversation here. But here's like I feel like sometimes, and sometimes it's deserved, but a lot of times when a team is not performing and they have the talent and stuff, I feel like sometimes coaches in any sport kind of get the short end of the stick. Well, obviously they should in a sense because they have the players to do well, but like a coach can only do so much. You know what I'm saying, Jeff?
That's correct. All right, so we are
But we
not.
could.
Okay,
You want to talk? Go ahead.
proceed.
No, I was just like I've again just been really I've been watching a little bit more baseball as of late, and I've been impressed with I'm impressed with. Let's talk about our hometown Pirates, Jack, because
Okay.
I've been impressed with our performances as of late. I mean, we took 4 or 5 from the best team in baseball, Jack. We took 4 or 5 from the LA Dodgers, Jack,
Yes, sir.
and we look good doing it too. So I mean, I know that this year I'm looking at the 2020, let's call it 2025 window. That's when I want us to be competitive again,
Uh-huh.
because I think that gives us enough time to develop,
Yes.
try and because our farm system's really good. I mean, you always hear even national guys who like acknowledge that. But our farm system's really good, and I'm just looking forward to see how we develop. But I mean, that's an encouraging sign, is it not, Zach?
It is. Um, had something to say, and I completely forgot what it was. We're going to move past that. Um, so yeah, that should do it for this segment of the All Things Sports Podcast. Our final segment will be the USFL, if you can see on the screen right about now. We will go through scores from around the league, the playoff picture, and that is supposed to say playoff predictions for both of us. So we will be right back right here on the All Things Sports Podcast. Give me a moment. Here we go.
Time to make them bleed. 'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with a cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Pain for their disease. Just like a weed, spread into the streets. Time to make them bleed. 'Cause we just want retribution. Let's go light up the darkness. Make true of an empty promise. Flip cards into weak and harmless. Take to the streets and turn them to a mosh pit. 'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.
Welcome back to the All Things Sports Podcast, and as I understand, this is in. Danny has a message for the people.
Yeah. Thanks, Zach. No, I just I would, and I think Zach has something to add here too. But as it pertains to the topic that I'm about to bring up, that I unfortunately missed when we were talking about the NFL. We have got to talk about the recent events of Aaron Donald hinting, keyword hinting, at retirement when he was on the I Am Athlete. I believe that's hosted by Brandon Marshall. He was a Seahawks wide receiver, I believe. But it's really cool what he does, actually. He interviews, not emails, but he interviews athletes. And we kind of get a behind the scenes look at it. So I thought, I always think things like that are kind of interesting to hear their kind of, like this, like our like raw perspective on things. So, anyway, he Aaron Donald hinted at retirement. He was quoted as saying like, uh, "I'm at peace with what I've done with football," um, and saying that like he like he wants to go like I forget what he said, but like almost like the individual awards don't entice him really much anymore. It's more about just getting another ring, and since he's already gotten the Super Bowl already, he kind of thinks like that he's a piece of that because that was the one thing that was keeping him going. And I mean, if you look at it from his perspective, I mean, he's made a ton of money so far. He's I mean, he's widely regarded as possibly the best defensive player of all time. And the way he just can like flat out just rush offensive linemen is just it's insane. I mean, you almost have to double him, right, Zach? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, I'm just it would definitely be a loss if Aaron Donald would retire. I mean, the league is better if Aaron Donald's in. I mean, he just and he's a um, so yeah, I mean, I just thought that was. I listened to a little bit of that podcast, and I thought that was very interesting to hear. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, Jack.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you know, like it's like Danny said, he was just hinting at retirement. Now, it'll be interesting to see if he actually does retire or not. But I think that will be a big loss to the Rams. I think he supports the Rams. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that'll be a big loss to them. And great defensive guy from Pittsburgh.
Right.
Went to school here. Um, so yeah, I think that will be interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I think because obviously this big loss for the NFL, but more importantly, a big loss for the Rams, right? I mean, he is their guy, like he is their A1 guy. So I really think I would not be surprised if Aaron Donald I'm not sure what his contract situation is, but I believe that they're going to get a deal done that he can't refuse in a sense because he's just too important to their whole operation here. You know what I'm saying, Jack?
Yeah. All right. So our next segment, the segment that we were starting when we had to drop a little nugget of information on you.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the USFL, and I will going to go through if I can find the right screen. There it is. The scores from around the league, the playoff picture if I can find it. I believe Birmingham have clinched a playoff spot, so here. Okay, there we go. Alright, I'm sorry for that. Um, and then playoff predictions we are not going to do as of yet, so we are going to take another brief intermission here, and we are going to wait. That is actually it. So that is actually it for today's episode of the All Things Sports Podcast. We would like to thank you for listening, or actually watching this live stream. Our next show, I believe, will be the Stanley Cup Final Preview Show, where we will be doing a deep dive of both of the teams that are in that make it to the Cup final. So look for that either next week or the week after. We will push out a date whenever we have it. So yeah, that's it. And then hopefully after that preview show that we do these live episodes on a more consistent basis. So, and Danny, any final thoughts for the people?
Yeah. I just again want to echo what you've been saying, Jack. I mean, it's just been. Pardon my dog in the background. We have a person coming to our house, so that is why it is a very energetic dog currently. But yeah, I just want to echo what Jack said. I mean, obviously, I've really enjoyed doing this live stream here, and hopefully there are many more in the future. And thanks for everybody for listening and or I guess watching. We both made that mistake, Zach. But yeah, we appreciate it.
Alright, yes, once again, thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you next time right here on the All Things Sports Podcast.